Welcome to Mindshock Live Q&A 2. Still testing out the new mic. Let's see if anyone is here at this time. Bueller. The first Q&A was pretty interesting. Didn't have as many out there bonkers questions as I thought, but maybe this one will keep it interesting. Also wonder if any OG listeners are gonna drop in. Taking any and all questions. I wonder what time zone most of the Mindshock listeners are in. Also testing out lower latency for less delay. There was a little bit of latency on that first live Q&A yesterday. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, people. Also, feel free to give your feedback on the sound quality and the new mic. Was playing around with some noise cancellation settings. Would it surprise anybody to learn that even though I'm broadcasting beyond time and space, it might be near a mine with plenty of activity, which would require some high-level noise cancellation. And I do not have a multi-million-dollar sound studio, so I do need to crank the noise cancellation. I use a couple different software for that. Audrey Cakes, oh hi, hello. Captain Kaboom, who are the other guys you have on your shows? Can you post links to their channels? Well, JR is supposedly some kind of high-level government operative, so he doesn't have any social media as far as I know. And I'm assuming he has the same name as his father, which is why he's JR. I don't know if I ever actually asked him. I don't think those are his actual initials. Unless it's maybe first name, middle name. I don't think he'd make it obvious. Or he's a junior, so it's just JR. And same thing with Maxwell. Will Smith is in the house. Good morning, Mindshock. Johnson, keep up the great work. Who's Johnson? Is this the actual Will Smith? Wouldn't be surprised. Hello, Casey. Feel free to drop any and all questions. Any topics you want. I might subcategorize these in the future. So might be doing like a true crime Q&A or a scientism Q&A or a conspiracy Q&A. This is a free-for-all Q&A. How many questions have I answered? Yesterday I answered every single question in the chat. I have a weird question. I've always wondered this. Shoot. Also, if everybody in the chat can give their feedback on the audio quality and sound levels. Cinnamon roll. I like your Thanksgiving special. Have you ever considered looking into Jamestown? It's very dark. What's Jamestown? You mean Jonestown? I have a series on that. Casey, I love the channel. I think you were so insightful and great, but I've always wondered what's up with the voice filler. You're trying to say anonymous. Did you just get in here now? I was explaining that at the beginning of this. Although I am broadcasting beyond time and space, I might also possibly be next to a mine with a lot of activity, so I use a couple different levels of noise cancellation, and it causes some weird effects. I tried playing around with it. I can maybe make it a lot deeper with the frequencies and the pitch, so it's kind of one end of the spectrum or the other. It doesn't really work in the middle without picking up a lot of audio feedback. Idaho 4, what do you think of the France involvement? Well, I don't think it can be immediately written off. I don't know how deep you want to get into that. I do have another episode coming up that I think might link a lot of the missing pieces. But yeah, I don't think the frats and sororities can be written off that easily, especially with all the weirdness and the strange and mysterious deaths. They kind of pass them off as accidental, but if they're not accidental, then the crime stats of that entire area would change. Casey, also you should look into the Bridgewater Triangle. It's local to me, and I think you would be very perplexed. Is that the one in Vermont? Oh, Cinnamon Roll stated Jamestown from the 1600s. Okay, so that wasn't a typo. Early colonial cannibal town. I'm not sure. I mean, I've done quite a bit of research on Roanoke, but not Jamestown specifically. Casey stated Massachusetts. Satanic crap everywhere around here. Seems to be everywhere. Will Smith, do you know why Michael Sartain does flat earth debates? He's horrendous at them. I mean, he's the champ. He's the Dunning-Kruger champ. His verbal diarrhea is unparalleled. I mean, only maybe Destiny can challenge him in the verbal diarrhea area. That's a good question, though. I don't know. He blocked me on all social media when I was posting the link to my logical analysis. Like, I genuinely wanted to know what he thought of it. I actually don't think I've seen any of his other debates. It seems like he kind of does his usual filibustering verbal diarrhea style for every topic he debates, but he didn't even memorize all the factoids correctly, so pretty much everything he says is false anyway. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of entertaining. I don't know. Maybe on other topics he's more well-versed, but I don't know. Casey, also, I appreciate how often you upload. How on earth do you find the time to be committed to giving us so much wonderful content? Well, as I said, I am broadcasting from beyond time and space. So where others are limited to 24 hours a day, I am not. I hope that was an adequate answer. I mean, to get a little bit more specific, I do bits and pieces of the podcast separately, so some of them actually take years to put together, but in small small pieces at a time, and then I'll put it together and release it. So it's not necessarily, I mean, some people were asking about the 20-hour live stream or the 20-hour premiere. That wasn't assembled like live on the spot. There were different pieces. Will Smith, I enjoyed that one you did with the fallacy ticker. Yeah, all of the logical analyses from now on are going to have that, unless there's like a super basic one, but any of the big debates, not all the all of the logical analyses on actual debates, like the modern day debate channel. Just because of Craig on Fight the Flat Earth, I'm actually going to be introducing further metrics for accurate analysis, like dingers, which are basically going to be self-owns, and then super fallacies, which are just astounding fallacies that, again, Craig has inspired further accurate metrics in how to do analyses. Boss is getting annoyed. Thanks for doing this. Seriously, you're my favorite channel. Nice to chat with you. Yep, thank you, Casey. Yeah, I get a lot of comments from people who think the Mindshock channel is the best. I can't argue with them. I mean, I don't know. The whole reason I kind of started the channel was just because of the lack of objective, logical, and neutral analyses on many topics, not just true crime, but paranormal and conspiracies. There's really nobody actually objectively, logically, neutrally presenting anything. It's always someone on one side of the issue. So I thought true, objective, logical commentary was quite lacking, which it is. And I'm actually really surprised there are even over 30,000 subscribers on this channel. Meg loves cute. My favorite are your MIB and Shadow People podcasts. I like your commentaries with JR too. I laugh every time I listen to the Jeffrey Dahmer commentaries. You guys are pointing out the coincidence. Yeah, I mean, it's so bonkers. A lot of people don't understand that we're not laughing at what he did or the victims in any way. We're laughing at the ludicrous nature in which that all unfolded. I mean, who illegally parks a van in front of the police station in the middle of the day during summer vacation at a busy mall in Florida and actually abducts a kid, runs out with them where there are witnesses of him putting him in the van, illegally parked in front of the police station, and somehow he just always magically gets away? It's really weird. And obviously that's just tip of the iceberg. For anyone that hasn't checked out the Jeffrey Dahmer series, check that out. I actually have another episode in that series coming. Believe it or not, there's even more coincidences and anomalies that are just absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, Dahmer's a weird one. Anybody got any feedback on the sound quality, mic volume, everything good? Cinnamon Roll says it sounds good. Okay. Was having some issues with some latency yesterday, but hopefully it's all set now. Why do we have to wear the ridiculous ties? Oh, wow. That's a conspiracy, my friend, Captain Kaboom. I don't know if I mentioned this on another podcast, but what does the tie symbolize? It's a collar and lead for a slave. So our corporate jobs just kind of subconsciously enslaving everybody. You got to wear a suit and tie and a belt. A belt also, chained slaves had chains around their waist, as well as the collar and lead. Not to mention, if you get into a fight, if anybody's seen the Jackie Chan movie, Who Am I mean, that'll give you second thoughts about wearing ties if you're going to be getting into any kind of martial arts fights. Zapton Kaboom, some call it a noose around your neck. Yeah, indeed. I would say bow ties also fit into that category, because it could still choke you if it's on tight. It still kind of symbolizes chains around the neck. Chandler, it's 20 years since the disappearance of Maura Murray. Will you finally do a dedicated episode going over R.S., the man who obviously murdered her? Are you talking about he who shall not be named, the concrete guy? I covered him quite extensively on a number of episodes. Most notably the last few episodes in the Morris series. I have another 2 coming up with even more information. Most of it I don't think has been released, but there are some serious issues. I mean, yeah, that's... Someone asked me yesterday what my so-called favorite true crime case is. I wouldn't put it in terms of favorites, but one of the most mysterious is definitely the Maura Murray case. It just kind of draws you in because there's so many different rabbit holes, so many different coincidences, and nothing seems to make sense. Someone needs to do one going over him, his aunt, his father, his family connections. I don't know how deep I went into them. I think I mentioned some family connection on why apparently there was no investigation in his direction. I should be releasing a new episode in the Morris series pretty soon. That's the longest running series on Mindshock. Cinnamon Roll, do you ever look into Dumb's deep underground military bases or celebrities buying underground houses in New Zealand? Yeah, I did an episode on bunkers with JR. We went over some of that. Was it John Lear who first made that public? I don't remember. John Lear was talking about some underground military bases with vast connections and networks and underground highways linking across vast distances. Have you done the James Holmes Aurora shooting? No. Believe it or not, that's actually never been requested. I think Pete Sampson, you're the first person to ask about that. Yeah, that's another bizarre one with a long line of coincidences. Will Smith, I really appreciate how objective and honest you are when applying your analysis. That's the name of the game. Chandler, I would also look into his alibi at the bowling alley in Woodsville the night she vanished and what he was doing there that night. The bowling alley, that sounds familiar. Was there another connection, or was the bowling alley near the store where Maura and allegedly Maura and 2 other girls were cited? I don't remember. That was an earlier episode, and I do remember something about a bowling alley. Audrey, what do you think of law enforcement's logic behind their claim about Brian Koberger being in the house until 4:25 while simultaneously speeding away at 4:20? I don't know if I'd use the word logic in regards to anything law enforcement has claimed regarding Koberger. I mean, I think his potential links to Kopaka need to be examined. But in the next episode in the Idaho series, I'm kind of going to go over quite a few connections and drug connections and an additional roommate that nobody had been talking about. And possible connections with people connected with the, as of yet, unexplored roommate avenues of investigation. I mean, his car didn't even, I mean, his car doesn't even match the wanted, or the car that, the info on the car they released. I mean, wrong body style, wrong year. I mean, it's all weird. Will Smith, is James Holmes the alleged Batman shooter, orange hair that looked like he was drugged when he was in court? The Colorado movie theater, yeah. His psychiatrist had some kind of connection, I think, to that one place in Connecticut. As well, I think there was a third shooting as well that either his primary or one of his psychologists was connected to. And I think one of the lawyers, too, was connected in multiple cases. Really weird. I wonder what time zone most people are in. Did everybody in here right now get a notification that this was going live, or did they just randomly see it? Because on yesterday's live, most people were saying they did not get any notifications. Neil Williams, why did Batman say you wear a mask to protect the ones you love, then give the other guy the coronavirus? What? What? Meg says I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge problem. I don't know if it's due to censoring per se, because there's even bigger channels that have fairly innocuous content where their comment section is all about people complaining they didn't get any notifications. So, yeah, I don't know if YouTube's just can't get optimized for whatever reason, but I think if you like and comment on more videos, it'll prioritize you to get notifications, unless you're liking and commenting on other channels way more than it'll prioritize that other channel giving you notifications. Audrey states, FBI agents don't usually identify cars correctly. You know, it would be an interesting podcast comparing FBI clearance stats versus local PDs, local or state police. Because anywhere from 40 to 60 cases don't even get cleared, let alone once you get into whether or not they got the right guy or not. So if the innocent population in prison, I mean, some estimates are extraordinary, close to 40% of people in prison are innocent, or at least innocent of what they were convicted of, even if they are career criminals. So the stats are quite difficult to get, because if anywhere between 40 and 60% of homicide being unsolved, so they're anywhere between 50-50, maybe even less likely to solve a potential homicide than not. Once you add the stats of the wrongly convicted, it probably tilts quite severely to justice not being served. Even if somebody is arrested and convicted for committing a homicide, it might not have been the correct individual, or it was, but they didn't act alone, so it still wasn't a true justice carried out situation. Any other questions, people? I'm gonna have to do a couple of these Q&As at different parts of the day to see what works better for everybody. But people ask so many questions and emails and comments, I thought it'd be easier just to do these to kind of get them all in one place, and then other people with the same questions can hear the answer, or the same question they were going to ask. I just learned Bill Thompson, Santa the Prosecutor, is a lead singer and plays guitar in a band. There's a clip of singing Bob Dylan. Zapton said I didn't get a notification either. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that many people get notifications. It's like a vast minority. It's like the more features YouTube adds, the less everything becomes optimized. So we got 17 people in here, and what is it showing? We only got 5 likes with 17 people. I wonder if the like ratio has something to do with notifications going out as well. Only 5 people liked this stream? What's going on? Do you think this scene was talking about COVID? If you're working alone, wear a mask. Dark Knight Rises 2012 scene. (2012) Dark Knight Rises is actually my favorite of the Nolan trilogy. I think I might be alone on that. Does everybody want an answer on that? Because I could watch that clip and come back with the answer. Is Neil the only one who wants to know that? Anybody else want to know that? Throw some ones up in the chat if people want to know the answer to that. Cinnamon, ever done on the dark side of the fashion world, like Balenciaga with its BDSM? There's a lot of weird stuff with that. I mean, like I was talking about yesterday, there's only so far or so long I want to even look into the abyss, because it will obviously stare back into you. So there's very minimal that I can handle of SRA or anything to do with victimization of children in those regards. As far as the ads, I've seen some really weird ones, yeah. Some would believe it's all coincidental, others it's all by design. Will Smith, did you see the Rolo Sartain versus Gary the Numbers Guy debate? It was pretty funny. No, I didn't. Was that a flat earth one, or? Rolo Tomasi's really funny. Is Neil Williams the only one who wants me to look at that scene from Dark Knight? Okay, I'll look at it in a second. We got 20 people in here and not too many other questions. What do you think of the mainstream media coverage for Brian Koberger and coincidence theorists not see it as propaganda? Well, coincidence theorists don't really see anything as propaganda. That's why they're coincidence theorists. I'm going to do a really big podcast on the Dunning-Kruger effect and why I talk about it so much and why it's important. I mean, I would give the equivalent, like if you don't know what's wrong with somebody and they're hospitalized, I mean, the first thing they usually do is give them fluids, because if even you're slightly dehydrated, that's going to exacerbate any kind of potential issue you might have. So kind of IV fluids are top of the list. So if someone's having trouble understanding something, I mean, they may or may not have a mental deficiency, mental disability, but they may have a narcissism issue connected to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is what I always bring it up. So it's kind of a critical point in understanding things. So even really smart people, if they're suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, there are going to be things that, even basic things that they might miss. And if they're too narcissistic to go back and re-examine basic definitions, I mean, that would be the major barrier to having any kind of meaningful dialogue. So obviously I would call that out. I know a lot of people get triggered because I keep going on and on about that. But I mean, that's like the equivalent of giving IV fluids to somebody who's hospitalized. Like, you might not know exactly what's wrong with them, but if they're dehydrated, it's going to make it way worse. So you got to solve that problem first. Will Smith, I run the like button over with an Abrams tank every single time. That might be why. Oh, so Will Smith does get notifications. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, it has something to do with the like and comment rate and ratio, especially compared to other channels that users are subscribed to. It shows 11 likes. Oh, wow, interesting. Let me refresh. Oh, yeah, it's showing 12 now. I wonder how the latency is. I tried to go lower latency for this one versus yesterday. BK will get the Scott Peterson Treatment 2024 edition. It was the same back then. Lawson Casa posted. So what's weird about Koberger is he might be guilty or partially involved in some way. With Scott Peterson, it might be he's either innocent or guilty. There may not be an actual crew involved, so it's a slightly different situation. But yeah, I need to do a Peterson episode on the Innocence Project. Just took his case, which is very curious because they're usually very thorough and they only get involved when it's absolutely painfully obvious that there's some kind of wrongful conviction going on. Because I've maintained, even if he's guilty, like Stephen Avery, even if they're guilty, these were clear wrongful convictions. Kind of like in the recent Trump Carroll case. I mean, even if you look at the judges or the jury card, they said that the burden was not met, that Trump was guilty. Even though they believe he is, the evidence wasn't met. So it's kind of a weird ruling. Dark Side of the Moon, great to catch alive. Dark Side, are you the one that reversed your position on Avery? You think he's guilty? Will Smith, that would be a great, actually, I don't really understand the Freddy Krueger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect? Yeah, I'm going to go into the history of it, and then I'm actually writing a book on the Dunning-Kruger effect. I have 2 books that I'm working on. Part of the delays were just whether to go self-publish or not. There's a lot of issues with those options, so I'm still kind of making final decisions. The Dunning-Kruger book is not done. I have a shorter book on logic that's done. But yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect, not just the history of it, but how it can be applied in everyday psychology and identifying issues, I've kind of, I don't want to say modified, I've expanded upon it to make it even more useful. Meg Lives Good. How old were you when you started seeing behind the illusion, analyzing the world, seeing logical fallacies? Was it gradual throughout time, or have you always had this type of mindset? That's a great question. So obviously I exist outside of time and space currently, but that might not have always been the case. Basically, in school, I always thought it was weird how teachers didn't really know anything. I'm not talking about like math and grammar. I mean, obviously, that's all real, and the teachers do know that. But when it comes to anything outside of empiricism, so a lot of these teachers, like, I guess I naturally picked up psychologically their lack of confidence in being able to answer questions. They just religiously deferred to the textbook. And it's not that I doubted the information that was in the textbook. I just thought it was weird how they couldn't explain it well, or how they couldn't prove that it was actually true. We just had to take it on faith simply because it was in the textbook. I always had an issue with that. And like I said, I never really doubted the information when I was really young, like in elementary school. I just always thought it was a little weird that the teachers couldn't give solid answers. Like in math and English class, the psychology of teachers was different. Even if it was the same teacher in elementary school, when they were teaching, let's say, arithmetic, psychologically there was a confidence there where they're very confident in these equations that they are what they are. And most of the teachers, if they were good teachers, especially in the early levels, they could explain it really well, arithmetic. They can give many examples. There wasn't a psychological lack of confidence. Whereas in history class, I mean, that was prevalent. They couldn't really explain it. They didn't know all the details. I mean, I don't think they thought it was untrue. There was just a lack of confidence in proving it in history and science. And obviously, science, wide range there. Like in chemistry, like some of the absolute basics, they have some chemistry, some confidence in explaining the chemistry. I mean, even up to high school level with certain questions. But in terms of why it works that way, they never really could answer that, and sometimes they even admitted it. They said, we don't know. Like, this is the curriculum, this is the test. If you want to get a good grade, just memorize these answers. So it kind of stemmed from there, and then once I got to in academia, I was involved in quite a few different subjects, everything from astronomy to physics, and also a lot of things on the art and English side. So I kind of had a wide array of interests and academic pursuits, but kind of ran into the same problem. Like there was just a lack of confidence from the professors. And with the rise of the internet, it kind of went from there, where I started strictly applying logic to every topic. And then I was always interested in the paranormal, UFOs, all that fun stuff. And I noticed there was always a lack of objective, logical, neutral examinations. Like one documentary was pushing theory A, another documentary was pushing theory B. It was never, let's examine all of the theories and hold all of the theories, their feet to the fire, so to speak, and see what aligns, what can be empirically verified, what's fallacious reasoning, what is not, for each of those theories, objectively, logically, and neutrally. Nobody ever did that, so it kind of went from there. I hope that answered your question. Lawson Casa, yeah, I meant as in the media had condemned him before the trial. Koberger, yes. Yeah, that's a huge issue in a lot of cases where The media does a lot of condemnation. Condemnation is an issue. Condemnation before investigation is the height of ignorance. Dark Side of the Moon, yes, that's me. Why exactly did you make your reversal on Avery? Because convicting a murderer just made it even more clear that it's just widespread correct. Because it was basically an exercise in ad hominem character attacks, many of which aren't even accurate, regarding Avery throwing the cat in the fire, which obviously Yanda was the one who admitted in writing to doing so and served no time while they put Avery in prison. Less xylophone. If the FBI gets shut down, is there a possibility that some cases may be reinvestigated due to corruption like Columbine? Yes. Particularly if there's a new agency that takes over. It also depends on on how exactly the FBI gets shut down. I'm not sure it's going to get shut down, though. Hi, Mr. 1-to-1. Will Smith, wait a second. Are you one of those guys who used to meet on a spaceship for YouTube live streams? I forget the name of the channel, but they did analysis of the complete... no. What spaceship? Reminded me a lot of ways you apply your luck. No, I mean, if you have a link to that, that'd be cool to check that out. Meg loves cute. Yes, thank you. I mean, I can go into it more. I mean, regarding Flat Earth, I went over this on the Geocentric podcast. I was always studying the history of physics because part of my... When teachers couldn't really confidently explain anything, I kind of started digging into the history myself, and particularly with Nikola Tesla and how his criticisms of Einstein and relativity... Like, people don't even know that they were rivals. It's publicized everywhere in the mainstream that it was Tesla versus Edison with the light bulb. They don't go over that it was actually Tesla versus Einstein and their views of the opposing views on almost everything. And of course, Tesla had some choice words for Einstein and his relativity. I went over them on a bunch of podcasts, so going through the history of that, I found some forums in probably would have been around 2000 where there were over 200 currently employed physics professors at universities, unless they were all lying. A few of them actually put their names, and I don't know I mean, this was over 20 years ago now, so I didn't save everything back then. It didn't really occur to people that the internet could be wiped like this in 2000, like the average person. There wasn't all this widespread censorship as there is now. Like, back in 2000, the sentiment was whatever's going on the internet staying there forever. Like, nobody's going to take it down for any reason. And so there was this forum with over 200 geocentrist physics professors. And nobody was really talking about flat Earth, but they were talking about a non-rotating geocentric spherical Earth. So I was familiar with a lot of these arguments before I ever even heard of flat Earth. Okay, so let's look at the clip that Neil Williams wanted me to look at. We had a long aside there. Let me know if you guys can hear the clip. I'm not going to switch audio sources on it, but I wonder if you can hear it. Anyway, so 4-minute clip. There's two. There's, if you're working alone, there's a 1-minute 40 clip. I'll listen to that one. I'm in low latency mode, so apparently the internet is slow for me now. But yeah, see if anybody can hear this. Might get copyright struck for watching this clip. Can you guys hear the audio? mask is not for you, it's to protect the people you care about. Okay, nobody else could hear it? Okay, good. So we shouldn't be having copyright issues. Okay. So, Dark Knight Rises, for the people if you're just getting here, Neil Williams asked, do you think this scene was talking about COVID? If you're working alone, wear a mask. And then so the irony is that Batman's mask doesn't cover his nose or mouth. So that's an interesting curiosity. So he's saying, if you're working alone, wear a mask. It's not for you. It's to protect others. I don't know. I don't know if Aleister Crowley's grandson worked on Dark Knight Rises. So he did work on, was it both Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, where Sandy Hook appears on the map? Yeah, Aleister Crowley's grandson apparently is heavily involved in Hollywood production design, which is really, really weird. So, I mean, knowing that and the connections with some major Hollywood movies, particularly Nolan's, and so-called insiders regarding occult Illuminati stuff, it's possible they could have put that in there as kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod, but it's also possible not. I mean, that's not obvious enough for me to say, yeah, that was definitely put in there for that. But it does raise an eyebrow. I totally forgot about that scene. Mr. 1-to-1, what is your thoughts on simulation theory? I go over it in little bits and pieces. I've never done an extensive podcast on it, but it's a very plausible theory. How deep do you want that answered? I mean, if you want to, you can make a question more specific. Will Smith, Tesla had some choice words as well for science in general, in the sense that mathematics and conjecture was replacing experimentation and observation. I can't remember the quotation exactly. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. We can go over the exact quote. It's a really good one. Today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. Kind of like a house of cards situation. I always bring up the house of cards analogy, where if you're building on incorrect base layers, a lot of people are arguing at the top of a house of cards when they haven't re-examined the base layers. Craig Mitchell asks, QAnon deep state. Yeah, we haven't really talked about QAnon. I think me and JR might have mentioned it quickly on a certain podcast. That's a tough one. If you're not going to fall for false dichotomies, they might not be the good guys. They might be some kind of psyop. On the other hand, if there are legitimate elements to it with legit whistleblowers, perhaps they also became co-opted and compromised. So maybe it didn't start out as a psyop, but it became one, like a lot of other things. Obrecht, and the grenade he gives the police officer is a virus-shaped ball. Oh, wow. Yeah. That is weird. Or at least what viruses are purported to look like. Yeah, that definitely raises the eyebrow further. Good call, Obrecht. Yeah. That raises it further, no doubt. Mr. 1-to-1, do you think the globe and the flat earth could exist side by side within simulation reasons? I'm going to actually say this here. I mentioned it on one or two other podcasts. If we are living in some kind of simulation video game, would the creator of the game think it was fun to screw around and kind of click and change the shape of the earth from flat to globe and then just lean back and laugh as everybody argues about it? Just switching it back and forth. Do you think it's possible that rises don't exist at all? Anything's possible, right? What's the motto here? The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. I mean, bacterium seem to exist. I mean, empirically verifiable. So, but with viruses are definitely a bigger question, and even if they do exist, that doesn't mean they are what people theorize or what institutions theorize. going back to Bechamp versus Pasteur. And again, I do not claim anything is true or untrue. Pete Sampson, what's your favorite X-Files episode? Oh, that's way too tough. That is way too tough. And I haven't watched the, not the reboot, but when they started it back up again, I didn't watch any of those. I watched some clips and they're really creepy. I mean, I think there's just too on the nose now on some of those episodes with, I don't know what they said, some kind of virus outbreak parallels. That was a little too on the nose, whereas with the older episodes during its original run, I mean, it was ambiguous enough where there was a certain amount of plausible deniability built in. And also, my favorite episode wouldn't necessarily be the one to correspond to a real conspiracy. Some of them were just really fun to watch. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it in so long. I watched it during the original run. So, I don't even remember a lot of them, but I would say first and second season, there were a lot of episodes that I liked. Grand Theft Auto, the video game, has no geometric shape. I mean, all video games have to be based on pixels. So even if it's a 3D representation, I mean, I guess based on the memory, it would all have to be planar geometry. Unless the memory was so great that you could make it spherical. You mentioned the analogy of the House of Cards with the weak foundation. It made me think of virology. I'm exactly the same as you, though, in the sense that I never claim to be certain of anything. Yeah, a lot of people get triggered by that for some reason. I mean, even in the true crime episodes, like the Maura Murray case, things that have nothing to do with physics or science, people get so triggered when that case more than any other. Like, if you don't believe that Maura Murray even made it up to New Hampshire, that for some reason that's just this unforgivable sin and everybody gets triggered about it. Like, if you're undecided, not even, because I never claimed that was even the case, but just simply being undecided is enough to trigger a lot of people. I mean, I guess it goes back to that herd mentality and just basic mental weakness where people just can't handle anyone who doesn't even go through the same thought processes or methodology, let alone having the same conclusions. What else we got? Any really out there questions? Those are some of my favorite ones that are just really, really out there. Because most people don't even take the time to logically consider something that's really, really out there, because they'd be too busy with appealing to incredulity logical fallacies. So I think someone said they were Eastern time zone. Which time zone are most people on here? At least people in here right now. I'm going to do a couple of live Q&As through different parts of the day and just try to get as much feedback as possible on that. Mr. 1-to-1 is in the UK. Okay, yeah, we got a number of people from the UK here on Mindshock. Will Smith, I've noticed that a lot of flat earth, also I get called retarded and a flat earther just for considering the possibility of it on mountain time. Yes, scientism cultists, I mean, that's why I call them scientism cultists, because they're cultists, so they're very religious in their ideology, very dogmatic. They just can't handle not everybody being in the same cult with them. I mean, I think a lot of it is also subconscious insecurity, because if there's even a tiny little chance that they got fooled, they can't handle that. So it's just more comforting if everybody's in the same cult with them. Brian's Central Time, Lawson Casa, Europe. 1,700 hours. Yeah, we got people from all over here, I guess. Anybody got some out there questions? The farther out there, the better. Did The Dark Knight have an Aurora reference too? Yeah, it did. I forgot what it was. It had it had a laundry list of references actually to many different things, both future and past. I mean, I forgot the name of the channel. There was one channel that actually went through the entire movie, and it was several hours of analysis on it. It's a little, yeah, it's in depth. A lot of them, again, they're not so explicit that you're saying, oh yeah, it's 100% that, but they make you raise an eyebrow. I guess that kind of goes back to the rules of the universe, whether the powers that be, the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, if they have to follow these laws of the universe, where they have to at least let your subconscious know with symbolism what's going on in order to be able to execute it. So it would be in their best interest, like if you're an evil person trying to succeed at this evil plot, you would give the absolute minimum in order to fulfill that law or rule of the universe. On the other hand, if you're completely crazy and screwing around and having fun, would you make it super obvious with a lot of things we're seeing in the past couple years? It seems like the further you go back in time, the less on the nose a lot of these references are. Mr. One-to-One, funny that time is not fixed. We are all living in different time zones. Wow, yeah, time zones is another weird one where it's kind of like people agreed on this time zone difference, but it's not really real. Will Smith, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Personally, I found that when I let go of my fear of having been fooled as a child growing up, it was a very liberating experience, to be quite honest. Yeah. So it's not just the truth will set you free, but if you realize you don't know what the truth is, that could set you free also, particularly if you were locked into certain paradigms and dogmas previously. Oh, Breck, right, they leave on purpose them for the select few. Time is a myth, agree. What about space? Is space a myth as well? If you're outside of time and space, is that the only way to see the truth? You can peek beyond the veil, but to see it for real, would you have to step beyond time and space itself? Another theory is that time is simply circular. So there's no real beginning of an end. It's a circle, and there is no real, like you can take any point in the circle, and it's neither before or after any other point. Anybody got any more bonkers questions? We haven't anything truly bonkers. We need some more bonkers questions. Bueller. What about Antarctic time zones? I've never seen anyone talk about that, obviously, but yeah, that's curious. I suppose I mean, yeah, you would think logically the Antarctic would be inverse from the Arctic if everything was a proportional sphere, but I don't know. Lawson cast of the moon landing, what about it? That's a triggering topic for many. Did it happen? Wait, who was the one that first I think, was it Alex Jones that first introduced the theory that it happened, but all the footage is fake because there was not only was there no way to get the footage, but obviously the footage is fake because of all the wires in the footage, and it looks obviously fake. Will Smith said, I liked your example of the serial killer who thinks he's in the US, but he could actually be in France, and it isn't relevant to his methods of... Yeah. I forgot which podcast that was, but yeah. People don't think about that, like the verification of certain base assumptions. Lost in Casa, just throwing ideas. I don't believe it upon reviewing the vids. You don't believe that the moon landing was real based on the videos? I cannot blame you. Those videos are rough. Mr. Window, and the moon landing was clearly fake. It's just kind of weird that such an extraordinary accomplishment, like a lot of the gullible coincidence there's, like instead of requiring more evidence than they would even need from, you know, some kind of creditor demanding that they owe them money, they would require more evidence of that than actual humans going through vast distances and unprecedented to land on the moon. Like, they don't really require any evidence for that, but they'll require evidence for things that have been done a million times, like a creditor claiming they owe money or whatever. They're going to require some kind of evidence or some kind of insurance situation. You know, basic everyday things, they require evidence, but something as extraordinary as going to the moon, the burden of proof for them is so much lower. It's kind of hilarious. Coincidence there's a very amusing bunch. The entertainment value they provide, we gotta be grateful for them. We gotta be grateful. I mean, I can't recall just the level of comedy that coincidence theories provide. I mean, I don't know if there's any other source of comedy that is quite as entertaining. Will Smith, that meme, everybody credits Neil Armstrong for being the first man on the moon, but no one gives any credit to the cameraman. Is that from Math Powerland's stand-up about the moon landing? Mr. Wonder One, is there people on the ISS? I'd say no. I mean, I don't even know what the ISS is. I mean, so something is up there. What exactly is it? And other, I mean, there might be something up there. So if they're shooting the videos in like a zero-G plane or whatever, or like a super big one, then there'd be people on that. But that might not be the same thing as what is purported to be the ISS, which might just be some kind of holographic Project Bluebeam projection in the sky. I mean, that's the thing about coincidence theories. Like, they don't even consider that possibility. They think they always go for these false dichotomies. Like, oh, you could see it with your telescope. That must mean it's exactly what's in the supposed live feed. Like, their brains are so mentally deficient, they can't even consider that all the videos might be filmed somewhere else, even if there's something that's purported to be the ISS in the sky, which could be something different, which is a hologram. So both of those could be true, but again, they just don't have the modicum of logic required to even consider that possibility. I mean, obviously, I'm not claiming that's true or untrue, but just the modicum of basic logic isn't even there. Los in Casa, I still can't wrap my mind around the direct phone calls with delays and the accurate signal guiding games from Earth, and we can't really pull off that today. Okay. So I'm one of the few people that doesn't think the Nixon call was an issue because of the landline, because they just patched him through to mission control. So the issue is between mission control and the moon. That's the issue. Because if that's legit, they could easily patch Nixon into mission control. But obviously, the delays are between mission control and the moon. And I don't think they even had... I forgot which audio engineer said this, but you would have needed a radio transmitter higher than like 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 times higher than the tallest skyscraper on Earth in order to even transmit the signal, and there still would be an astronomical audio delay. Mr. Wonder One might be filmed in the pool where the mock ISS is. Will Smith, you could use a film set in an aircraft as well and simulate zero-G. Yeah, you could. You definitely could. Didn't they actually do that for something? Or are they in the middle of... Is Tom Cruise... Is the new Mission Impossible movie, is that what they're doing with that? I don't remember. Pinto Sack. Return of Pinto Sack. How many hours a day do you work? Well, I exist outside of time and space, so other people might be limited to 24 hours in a single day, but I am not, Pinto Sack. I am not. How do you think I get so much content out? Once you start hacking the space-time continuum, anything becomes possible. Christopher Allen music video filmed in zero G. Yeah, there's quite a few things that were filmed in zero G. Because Tom Cruise wants to do it. I wonder, I need to do a podcast on Tom Cruise. That's actually been in the works for a while. I've actually been to the Scientology headquarters in LA. It's pretty creepy. Obviously, I didn't give them any kind of address or anything. They stalk you forever. I knew somebody that did an official tour, like to become a member, and they still send him stuff in the mail like 30 years later. So with Tom Cruise, what I was going to say is if he's not in on it, so there's a lot of different theories with Tom Cruise, because if Scientology just has a lot of dirt on him and he's being blackmailed or whatever, and he's kind of just doing their bidding, trying to recruit other celebrities for them, it's kind of weird. Is Tom Cruise like a less sleazier version of Epstein, where he doesn't engage with any like criminal activity or anything? He just wants to recruit more people into Scientology. But is it possible he's not in the know on the top levels? It would be curious to kind of do a psychological examination of Tom Cruise pre-Kubrick in Eyes Wide Shut and post-Kubrick Eyes Wide Shut. So, I mean, there's a lot of rumors about Tom Cruise, like before he was famous, on what he had to do to get famous. And I don't mean as part of In the Club. I mean, there were rumors that he was, on the streets doing favors for random people, like just, some of those rumors. Not that he was dialed into any kind of occult ceremonies and satanic stuff, but who knows? And so, what if Tom Cruise isn't even aware of like a lot of these flat earth theories, and then he tries to do it for real, because that's what he's all about, doing all the stunts for real with the Mission Impossible series. So he tries to do it for real, and would it be funny if somehow he kind of had to realize that the whole NASA thing's just a show, and then he kind of blew the whistle on it? Would that break 2024 if he just came out and exposed NASA and the fakery? Because he's trying to do it for real, so, And I don't know, like a lot of people hate on Tom Cruise, but just based on how he came out against Big Pharma, have you guys seen the interviews where he came out, like he just roasted some guy in some mainstream show? I'm trying to remember what it was. I'll look it up. I'll include it in the Tom Cruise podcast that I'll be doing. He just roasted a guy on just mainstream network television about how a lot of Matt Lauer, about how a lot of these drugs can have horrible side effects, and how people could just be deficient in basic nutritions and vitamins and minerals, which is true, because, I mean, again, that's why you get fluids at the hospital. That's why they measure those things. But for whatever reason, it's kind of taboo to say that you should just up your nutrition instead of popping pills and making Big Pharma money. So the way that he came out against Big Pharma, I don't know if there's really, other than Woody Harrelson maybe, I mean, there's not a lot of celebrities on the level of Tom Cruise that came out that hard against Big Pharma. So if anybody would expose NASA fakery and establishment fakery, I think Tom Cruise could do it. What if Tom Cruise becomes like the biggest flat earther and just blows the whistle on everything? Like, would anybody actually be surprised? Like, that actually wouldn't shock me. Because Tom Cruise, I mean, he's kind of like a Mel Gibson type character, where it doesn't really seem like he cares enough about protecting status quo per se, because he's so far above it. Oh, Breck, Tom Cruise divorced all 3 of his wives when they turned age 33. Is that true? I didn't even look at that. That's weird. Just like, were you always inquisitive even as a child, or is it something that came later? I actually answered that earlier in this stream. Inquisitive, yes, mostly just because of the lack of confidence that teachers had outside of subjects like math and English. So anything with history or science, I guess I just psychologically picked up their lack of confidence, and that kind of stuck with me throughout all of my school years and then even into academia. Is Epstein alive still? Probably. That's a good one. I don't know. You would think someone in his position would have either an exit strategy. What about a dead man's switch? Like, why wouldn't, if he was truly dead, wouldn't he have a switch? I mean, someone like him, whether he's a double agent, a triple agent, or a quadruple agent, like if he's killed, if he actually gets killed, who believes that he wouldn't have a dead man's switch to take all these scum down with him, that even though he's scum, but to take other scum down with him just for the audacity to go after him? You would think, right? Because if he was promised protection, unless he's alive. So I think a lack of a dead man's switch definitely points to him being alive, unless we're going to say he was just one of these dumb criminals who always thought he could get away with everything, that he didn't bother to have a dead man's switch. But it just strikes me as odd that he's exactly the type of guy that would have a dead man's switch. Like, it just seems weird that he wouldn't. Mr. 1-to-1, is mainstream news all deepfake AI? I wouldn't say all of it. Some of them it might be, though. Some of those old news clips where they're in the kayak in like a couple inches of rain trying to pretend the flooding is worse than it is. You guys remember those old clips? Probably from like the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, that doesn't seem like it's AI. Or do you mean just now? Or is there a particular year where it switched to all deepfake AI? I mean, I think the amount of deepfake AI is increasing, no doubt. But I don't know if I'd say all of it is. Christopher Allen laughing. What were you laughing at specifically? The Tom Cruise stuff or the Epstein dead man switch? Meg Levsky, that would be amazing. Are you talking about Tom Cruise? Lawson Casa, would they even risk it? Would who risk what? Oh, Epstein having a dead man switch? That seems kind of weird. Like, who would want to, the amount of people that he had dirt and blackmail on, that's a good question. Would they risk taking him out? Is there unless they somehow figured out the dead man switch, preempted it. But again, someone like him and the circles he traveled in, would he only have one dead man switch? It seems like he wouldn't. It seems like how could he be that dumb? It's hard to believe he wouldn't have multiple dead man switch with backups. Meglev's I like your pointing out that the use of scientific theory with Eddie Bravo was Joe Rogan. That video was a good analysis. Yeah, that's probably one of the favorite analysis that I've done. Because Rogan is such a goof, and people just don't realize what a goof he is, where Eddie Bravo explicitly states many times that he's not even claiming it's true. He doesn't know if it's true. He's saying, I don't know, I'm just asking questions. And Joe Rogan is so triggered at the mere act of asking questions. Eddie Bravo actually invited me on his Rockfin podcast. I might have to schedule that soon. Christopher Allen laughing about Tom Cruise. Yeah. I mean, it really wouldn't surprise me. I don't know about the flat earth side, but the fakery of space, if anybody would come out with that, like just based on how hard he came out against the $1 trillion big pharma industry, like it's a trillion, it's not $1 billion, it's a $1 trillion industry. He came so hard, like it really wouldn't surprise me if he just exposed NASA and fake fakery. Finn Hagen, did they murder Joan Rivers? That's a good idea for a podcast. I don't know. Mr. Window, in the last few years, I've noticed there's more and more and more AI green screen. Yeah, there definitely is an increase. Meg Lipsky, Tom Cruise exposing everything would be amazing. See, the thing is, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, if it was it also wouldn't surprise me if Tom Cruise and Mel Gibson teamed up. Because Gibson will say whatever he wants. I mean, nobody's controlling that guy. Group thing skeptic. I find your fence riding similar to nihilism, intelligence tainted with cowardice to commit. Don't get me wrong, I believe you are the smartest guy on the internet. Witsit comes in second. Well, thank you. I'm not sure I'm smarter than Witsit. I'm definitely not a better debater than Witsit, although everybody wants to see me debate for some reason. What I find interesting is the analysis of debate. Like, I'm not that passionate about debating myself. But, I mean, obviously I've done a whole lot of debating, but it's not something I really want to do. Not that I wouldn't do it. Again, it has to be an efficient format for it to make sense. But okay, so is fence riding similar to nihilism or cowardice? No, for many reasons. One, I'm actually very optimistic. I actually think that humanity and society is not doomed. I think the speeding up of the circling the drain or the spiral, I think that actually increases the chance of people waking up because it gets their attention. Because if things were creeping too slowly, like they were in, let's say, the 70s and the 80s, maybe even the 90s, not enough people would notice. So the slow spiral, it would be easier. It's like the boiling frog analogy. When some of these things are so obvious, it gets people's attention more. So now I'm even more hopeful that the ship can be turned around. So I wouldn't consider it nihilism at all. In terms of cowardice to commit, I don't not commit. If the evidence is there, I'll commit anything that's empirically verifiable. For example, like let's say, humans need water to survive. I'm committing to that. I'm totally committed to that. Humans need to be hydrated to survive. I'm committed. I'm not fence-sitting that issue. I don't fence-sit anything where, again, the burden of proof has to be met. It's just in a lot of these conspiratorial issues or even true crime cases, there's not enough information to commit. So it would be silly to do so. It'd be illogical to do so. But whenever there's enough information and enough evidence, I will commit. It's just the topics I happen to be talking about. I mean, if you want me to do a podcast on hydration, I mean, I will totally commit to humans needing water to survive. I will commit to that. Anything that can be empirically verifiable, I will commit to. Lawson, because Tom would start jumping on couches. Oh, man. Yeah, my Tom Cruise podcast, I've been working on that for about 3 years now. So I mentioned this in the Q&A yesterday. That part of the reason I can get so many podcasts out is I do a lot of the research and assembly in pieces. So by the time it's ready, it's actually been compiled from different pieces over a longer period of time. Tom Cruise is really tough. I'm not 100% say, I don't know if I could say 100% he was MK Ultra. He's not an average Hollywood celebrity. Like 99% of all these other celebrities, you can say maybe they were MK Ultra and they act consistent with that. But Tom Cruise is such an anomaly. It's just, yeah. And his dedication to making movies at his age with all the stunts that he's doing, I mean, that's kind of impressive. Unless you believe it's all a double and he's a clone and all that. But yeah, that's another rabbit hole. Julian Assange has a dead man's switch, and that's why they can't kill him. Well, so I guess the parallel situation is they can pretend to kill him, right? If he's in on it, because that way, like it wouldn't set off a dead man's switch. So if the right people know he's still alive and there's evidence of that, it wouldn't be set off, even if they report that he's dead in the mainstream. Because maybe that's what happened with Epstein. Meg loves Scoot. Please let us know if you do that with Eddie Bravo. I'd listen. Yeah, Eddie Bravo is cool. Mr. Wonder Woman, you do a show with Bravo, that would be cool. Lost and Cousin Mel is fed up with them, no doubt. Yeah. So, I don't know if I want to get too far into this, just real quick. A lot of celebrities seem to have issues with alcoholism, and I'm not claiming that has anything to do with them maybe finding out about certain satanic occult Illuminati influence, but maybe, because supposedly Mel has had long-standing issues with alcoholism. Is that him trying to cope with what he knows about the industry? I don't know. I'm not claiming that's true or untrue. It's just a certain pattern that I kind of noticed. Oh, Breck, Bravo asking if nukes are real on the biggest podcast in the world is amazing. Yeah, that was cool. And how triggered Rogan was at that. It's crazy. It's like Rogan was so deficient. The only thing he could understand, either there are nuclear bombs or no bombs. Like, he couldn't even consider the possibility that there's all these really powerful bombs that are simply not splitting atoms or nuclear in nature. It was painful to watch on one hand, because how could a supposedly grown functional adult like Rogan not even comprehend that, like, these huge powerful bombs could exist, they just might not be nukes. Pinto Sack, after your extensive work on the John Benet Ramsey case, do you have a personal opinion of what actually happened and care to share? I'm actually releasing a new episode probably tomorrow, maybe even tonight, tomorrow, and I'm going to go over something that hasn't really been gone over before, so why don't you wait until after you watch that one and then we'll revisit. But to do a quick answer, I don't think it's a clear-cut answer. I think there's such a huge issue with the timeline, and you would have to know exactly what did or didn't happen at the Whites that evening at the Christmas party. Since, I mean, we don't have a verified timeline, so I don't really have personal opinions in terms of what I believe happened, because belief is the enemy of knowing. If there's not enough information, that's an instance where I wouldn't commit to a theory, because there's not enough information, there's not enough evidence. Los and Casa nukes are a rabbit hole for sure. Yep, they are. Mr. Window, I hope you're getting paid for these midstream ads. I hope so too. YouTube kind of does whatever it does with ads. There's no real rhyme or reason. Neil Williams, breatharianism. What about him? Did you enjoy the breatharian podcast I did with JR, or did you not know that I did that and you're just asking about it? Because, yeah. Obrecht, Tom Cruise 2002 opening Oscar speech is interesting just after the big event in 2001. I don't know if I remember that. I'm gonna have to include that on the Tom Cruise podcast. Is Biden a robot? He sure looks quite a bit different than he did years ago. I mean, different facial structure and even skull structure. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. I mean, leaders of a lot of countries have doubles. I don't know why people are so triggered at the possibility that Biden might have doubles. Now, whether or not it's a robot or a clone, I don't know. Groupthink Skeptic, thanks, Bruce, for all the content. Checking out to go chase Benjamins. Great answer, by the way. Thumbs up. Yep, you got it. Mr. Window One, if nukes were real, then why no nuke bullets? That's interesting. So, the size differential on nukes, yeah, that's a good question. Could you make nukes much smaller? I mean, there are variations in megaton ratings of blasts. So could that be done on a much smaller scale? Maybe there are. Maybe they are doing that. Maybe that exists and it's top secret and classified. If they're real, of course. I mean, we're all discussing a house of cards right now. But can you know anything to be true? Yes. What can be empirically verifiable? I mean, I guess you could play the game if this is all a simulation, but even within the simulation, certain things could be real or fake within the simulation. Like, for example, humans need water to survive. So what happens when you don't hydrate? You die. So there are certain things that can be empirically verifiable. Or even saying, if you want a more general statement, the ocean is big. You know, you go to the beach, it's a big ocean, or certain lakes are very, very big, and they are composed of water, either seawater or fresh water. For, you know, a freshwater lake or the ocean water has salt in it. You can empirically verify that. So, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to phrase that question differently. Mr. 1-to-1, nuclear reactors are just steam engine plutonium rods, and whether there's no atom splitting reactor, is there? I wouldn't know. I haven't personally inspected any, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of questions regarding nuclear reactors and nuclear energy. Mike Jones, those works. Those works? What does that mean? Neil deGrasse Tyson came out recently and said the new nukes have no radio. Yeah, I mean, how would he even know? How would he know anything? I'm still laughing that Neil deGrasse Tyson said it would be easier to go than to fake it. Like, is it possible he's just that mentally deficient? He has zero awareness of how dumb that sounds? Because why not film all the movies about Mars on location? If it's just that much easier to do space missions or moon missions, like, why would you just not go shoot on location if it's that much easier? I'm still laughing about that. I'm probably going to be laughing about that for a long time. Neil Tyson does bring the laughs. We cannot deny that. Mike Jones, how about level is horizontally oriented? It's a little ambiguous, but I mean, yes, it is. What's your point with that? Lost and Cousin, those nuke places sure recover mighty fast. Well, also, one of the biggest issues is how random buildings remain standing. Like if you look at the aftermath photos of the nukes in Japan, there are these random buildings. I mean, they look like they're regular wooden cheapo buildings, and some of them look almost untouched, while other buildings next to them are completely decimated and reduced to rubble and ash. I mean, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Those work as proofs. You mean in relation to horizontally oriented and level? Lawson cousin Neil might just be trolling people. Yeah, maybe. Yep, very possible. Mike Jones, we know that a plumb baba hangs vertically. Okay. Neil Williams, no, I was not trolling. Wait, who said you were trolling? Oh, not you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, because someone mentioned that Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about new nukes, and then I mentioned that Neil Tyson was talking about how it's easier to go to the moon than to fake going to the moon. I mean, where would you even come up with such silliness? Like that it's easier to go than to just make a couple of fake documents and a fake broadcast and a fake video that looks fake. It's easier to just traverse hundreds of thousands of miles of space and like have all these life support systems and calibrate. I mean, it's just insane. Well, I mean, I don't know, but you would think, right? Because if he thinks it's that hard to fake footage. Oh, no problem, Neil. Yeah, Neil Tyson might be trolling. Or he just might be dumb. I mean, it's hard. Like, if you've checked out the Neil Tyson analysis I did on him, it was rough, because even what he was saying about God didn't make any sense. I mean, just not knowing that God, he didn't seem to know anything about the Old Testament at all. It was just really weird. Or maybe he just likes humiliating himself. I mean, I don't know. There are these people with fetishes out there, like Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. It seems like they enjoy humiliating themselves by pretending to be dumber than like 3-year-olds. It's a weird thing, but I mean, there's all kinds of weird people out there. So we know we can establish fixed perpendicular horizontal vertical plane references and roll with tools and levels. Yes. What's your point? Oh, Breck, normies use that argument so often. Wait, which one? That it would be easier to go than fake? Yeah, that's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. It's just rough. Ergo, the 3D coordinate system of reality is Cartesian. Yes. But that might be a reductive logical fallacy, because there are other factors at play as well. More one-to-one, how does spacesuits work in a vacuum? So I have another episode coming out in the Apollo series where one of my favorite examples of issues is the astronaut that spilled the orange juice on the outside of the suit. Nobody talks about that, but that was one of my that was one of the primary factors when I started looking at the moon landing seriously, because how could there be orange juice spills on the outside of the suit if there's supposed to be a vacuum? Because it just doesn't make any sense. I'm probably going to spend quite a bit of time on that episode just about the orange juice spill on the spacesuit. What's up, Dave Scott? Dave Scott, one of the most astute Mindshock listeners. Lawson Casa, LOL. Yes, the orange juice. Nobody talks about the orange juice. Everybody's going on and on about shadows. I'm like, how did the orange juice get on the outside of the suit? I'm still laughing about the orange juice. I'm trying to remember the first time I saw that. It's in one of the main debunking moon landing websites. I forgot. It's like one of the really, really big ones. And I mean, there's a lot of physicists and engineers on that are criticizing everything about the moon landing. Which clip? The orange juice was not a clip. If you're talking about that was just in the documentation there. I believe there's a photo of it from, again, allegedly they came back. And I think you can still see the orange juice spill on one of the suits on the outside of the suit. I don't know if they were talking about it. There's some kind of transcript, but I'll go over it on the next episode in the Polo series. Any more bonkers questions? Dave was on yesterday's Q&A, or at least a little piece of it. I'm probably going to be doing these at different times of the day just to see kind of where everybody's at time zone wise. And I might do them every day. Like I said, I exist outside of time and space, so I'll be able to have plenty of time to do multiple live streams a day and also still release at least 5 episodes a day. Mind-shocking. Any more random questions? I think so far only one person stated that they actually got a notification for this stream. Dave, did you get notified for this stream? Pinto's like, what's your favorite musical band? I mean, that's kind of a question yesterday. What's your favorite food? I mean, I like so much. By favorite, like, to me, one of my favorite things is having a diversity of something like food or music. So, hi Bruce, Big Mindshock again here. Can we expect an update about Vladimir Terzisky? Yes, I actually tracked down hours and hours of his presentations, and I'm still making my way through some of them, but that guy seems to either be an absolute super genius or just a phenomenal actor. I've never seen anybody discuss what he discusses with a straight face for hours on end. I mean, it's impressive. If he's lying and making it up, I mean, he's the most impressive I've seen to ever do it. Dave Scott said, no notice. Yeah, YouTube's weird. YouTube's weird. Yeah, I was trying to track down Terzinski's, any of his socials. Apparently he no longer teaches at university, but, failed actor, you think Terzinski was a fan? No, he was a huge academic and he speaks multiple languages. He's from Eastern Europe. I kind of forgot, was he Russia and Bulgaria as well, or Romania maybe? He was in a couple different universities, couple different, languages that he speaks, and I think he actually taught himself German in order to read the original documentation regarding so-called German UFOs. So he had direct translation from the documents. He's Bulgarian. Yeah, his name is a Russian name, but he speaks Russian as well, I believe, right? I think he might be both, but yeah, he speaks a number of different languages, but yeah, that guy's brilliant. I mean, he's such a super genius, or just the greatest actor of all time. That podcast, I believe, is on. I think I put that on the Bruce McGuire channel. On this channel, it actually got removed. Apparently, you're not allowed to talk about German UFOs or Nazi moon bases. Have you heard of the Grand Theft World podcast? I feel like right up your alley. I need to make a great... No, I have not. What's that about? Los Casa Descent, maybe. His name is Ruski. He seemed to have disappeared since the 90s. Yeah, there's an Instagram account with his name, but I don't know if that's him. I don't know. I don't think it has any activity on it. A lot of people in that subgenre, in that space, have disappeared that have looked into UFOs. Is it possible, if we're going to add the flat earth theory here, is it possible they went beyond the ice wall or whatever somehow, and possibly not even like using some kind of Stargate teleportation technology, or just got in the UFO and sailed right beyond the ice wall into all these other continents on a flat earth map, for those that haven't seen the flat earth maps that have all these other continents, like dozens. Some of them have dozens and dozens of continents. It's kind of wild. All right, any more questions? I'm probably gonna end it in another 10 minutes or so, and then I'll probably do another one later in the day. Mike Jones, if P, the globe is spherical in shape, then Q, the surface of liquid at rest, must curve. A water level is a tool for establishing a zone plane of reference, not Q, therefore no. Well, again, that's a reductive logical fallacy based on the size of the sphere. Because if the sphere is big enough relative to whatever the curve would be, it would be difficult to verify that. I think I mentioned this on the Nathan Oakley podcast. If you have a beach ball, if you have a small enough level, it'll be flat on the beach ball. Or even a ball bigger than a beach, like if you take a millimeter on a beach ball, it's perfectly 180 degrees. But again, once you expand that, like if it's a few inches, it will not be level. Lawson Costa, these subjects are sensitive to the algorithm. World War II stuff are thorny. Yeah, I guess. Mike Jones, that's a Modus Tollins. How far you want to go? I mean, you're still within the realm of calculus or math, though. So, I mean, is it more kind of like we're just counting unicorn moon juice without proving the unicorn moon juice, regardless of how accurate you want to count? Mr. Window, why are UFOs called UFO? I think the same reason that chemtrails are simply called geoengineering or aerosol spraying instead of chemtrails. It's probably the same reason. Al Bialek, sounds familiar. There was actually another guy. I watched I think it was a documentary with Bialek and another guy. The other guy had a lot of crazy stuff. But yeah, I'll probably do a podcast on the Philadelphia experiment, going over all that. I am beyond time and space. Zapped and kaboom. A water level isn't a spirit level, it's a tube. Well, I was talking about just to make the argument simpler. There's a water level for construction or for anything. Like, they have really little ones as well. The globe must be huge. Again, depending on what you're measuring from where. Sander, Jute, Montauk, yep. Serpo, Philadelphia experiment. Yeah, I was pretty heavily involved in a lot of research on that many years ago. I still have most of it compiled, so I will be doing a podcast on that as well. This is simple physics. Yes, it is. Scott Bezek, we live in an eyeball right on the iris. Yes, Scott, that's a very interesting point, because even if the Earth is flat, it could still have like a curved surface, so like an eyeball, yeah. Although it's weird, some of the ancient depictions actually show it in the other direction, like a roulette wheel. Concave instead of convex. If the globe is much bigger, there might be hiding more land. Yeah, flat or globe, there could still be more land. Good point. Pentosac, have you ever been threatened to not talk about a certain subject? Threatened by whom? I mean, YouTube kind of will just delete your videos if they're on certain subjects. No, not really threatened. I mean, JR kind of doesn't want to talk about Nevada ever, but I mean, it's not a threat. He just refuses to discuss anything about Nevada. I mean, I don't know if that's maybe he worked at some Nevada bases. I've been trying to get him on another episode, but he just, he's kind of hard to get a hold of. I've seen a 400-meter water level established on... Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's big. That is big. You can send me some videos if you want. Oh, Breck, what do you think of the people on a primal diet, raw, mean eggs, milk? You mean meat? Yeah, that's good. I mean, processed is obviously bad. There's an old saying, if man made it, don't eat it. I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Or at least, 80-90% of eating something that man did not make or process would probably keep you pretty healthy, especially if it wasn't doused in chemicals or grown with any kind of pesticides or GMOs. Mike Jones, a 400-meter wheel is plenty long enough to demonstrate that water at rest doesn't curve. Relative to that size, yes. Have you talked about the Beatles? Not extensively, but a number of people have requested that podcast. I will get around to it. Mr. 101, we could be like ants on the globe, maybe we're just smaller than they say. We're smaller than they say, yeah. The interaction between you and JR is great. Yeah, he's funny. He's funny. Oh, Breck, so does that mean you eat raw meat, eggs, and milk? I don't really do milk or dairy anymore. But, yeah, I mean, French tartar is pretty good. And I've watched Rocky enough times to to eat some raw eggs. Tutsaka, this guy's been trolling for a while. Why do you think of yourself as the bastion of logic and reason? I don't. See, that's the problem when you're not at a basic English comprehension level. I never claimed to be smart. I never even claimed to be smarter than a fourth grader. I think when I started the podcast, I tried to keep everything at a third grade level, but some people, they've just been dropping so far below that. I've tried to dumb things down at preschool level. That doesn't mean I'm above a fourth grade level. Mike Jones, the swap out of Paul McCartney for Billy Shears, definitely should do that one. Yeah, I mean, I have quite a long list of requests that I will get to. Milk is sus, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, although I should do a podcast on milk because there's a lot. I mean, like I think the Amish just drink it raw and they know exactly what's in it and what's not in it. So theoretically, it could be not as bad, I guess. I definitely don't want to be messing with any of the processed stuff. If flat is one, globe is zero, then the globe doesn't exist. Milk and dairy make me fart since I've got older. You lactose intolerant, maybe? I mean, also, it would be interesting, because I know a lot of people who had trouble with just heavily processed milk and dairy. They actually don't have trouble with anything fresh from a local farm. Zapton, if the earth is flat, what's on the other side of it and what is supporting it? I mean, that's a weird question, because it's like, if we really do live in an infinite heliocentric universe, like, what's on the other side of the universe? Like, not knowing something is just, it's kind of, it doesn't even make sense to ask that question. Like, who said there's even another side? What if it's an infinite plane, like, it all depends on how you think about it. Tusaka, your entire channel is saying, I don't know, while calling everyone you don't like as being mentally disabled. Is this channel just a massive expletive post? So you just stacked a bunch of begging the questions fallacies there. So first of all, I don't dislike anybody. I don't even dislike you. I wish you all the best. But I mean, calling a duck, that's just being objective. If somebody has a mental disability, I also don't really claim they actually are being mentally disabled. I mean, same thing with Craig. Like, he could just be this phenomenal genius actor. I don't claim anything. So, and I don't really like or dislike anything. I mean, I guess you could say I like logic. I mean, I'm biased towards being logical, which includes not taking sides. So again, to Tsaka, if you're not even on like a first grade English level, I mean, you're just going to be talking in circles, spamming, begging the question fallacies. Pintosack, Bruce for president. I am not a statist. I do not seek to control others, and I don't believe others should be violently oppressing people. There we go. I took a side. I didn't fence sit on that one. I have a position. I think it's morally wrong to rob and engage in violence against peaceful people. Lawson, because if there's no space or a NASA lies, then we don't know about Earth as well. Anything can be possible, indeed. Mr. One-to-One Tsutsaka, why are you here then? There's an old saying, old in terms of the internet, so it was in the early ages of the internet. There are no such thing as haters. There are only confused fans. Tsutsaka might just be a confused fan. His subconscious recognizes the truth of what I'm saying, but his conscious mind can't rectify that. You can ask all the questions you want, Tsutsaka, but when you're engaging in begging the question fallacies, don't be surprised when people point that out. Because if you're not too much of a narcissist, you can re-examine your base definitions. Because if you actually don't understand English comprehension to the level you think you do, you don't even understand what I'm saying. So your question criticizing what I'm saying when you didn't understand what I said is kind of silly, right? But yeah, I mean, all the Dunning-Kruger goofs are welcome on Mindshock. The Mindshock channel wouldn't even exist without these people. So I have nothing but gratitude for people like Tsutsaka. And by the way, if you're just spamming profanity, YouTube will censor your comments. That's not me doing that. I go to sleep whenever I hear fallacy this, fallacy that. It's overused and meaningless. So you think logic is meaningless. So you think validity, to be able to ascertain whether something is valid or not, is meaningless. That does explain why you're having so much trouble. Because if you don't even know what logic is or logical fallacies are, like it seems you don't, like are vowels overused? Are numbers overused? Should you not use vowels simply because a lot of people use them? But if you're trying to be accurate and valid, you're gonna have to use a lot of vowels because that's how words are actually spelled. So just saying something is overused, I mean, that's what's really meaningless. So you might be psychologically projecting more than you are aware of, Tsutsaka. Oh, Breck, yeah, he did. That's like saying validity is meaningless. I mean, that's the whole point of logic, because otherwise, how do you know what's valid or not valid? Or does Tsutsaka not know what the word valid is? Because that might be a possibility, too, because if he doesn't know what validity is, then, you know, that could cause him to be making those comments as well. All right, I got 5 more minutes. What do you guys want to talk about? Tsutsaka's deficiencies or anything else? Do you take any nutritional supplements? Yes, depending on where I am and at what time of the year. Although, supposedly you're not supposed to take nutritional supplements 24/7 either, because then your body gets used to it. No drugs or alcohol for me, Pinto Sack. I value my brain cells. I'm not claiming to be super smart, but I don't want to get any dumber. Tsutsaka, you're replacing my actual argument by saying everything's a fallacy. I never said everything was a fallacy. But that's an interesting psychological projection. Like, you don't focus on exactly what's being said. Because I never stated everything is a fallacy, and also I reiterate the fallacy all the time. Just because something is a fallacy, not everything, but the things that are fallacies, that still doesn't mean they're untrue. So again, you seem to have a fundamental lack of basic English comprehension, because if you understood what was said, would you post what you just posted? He's a fight. That explains everything. Explains a lot. I actually, in the part 3 of the analysis, I'll probably be releasing that in the next couple of days. I'm actually going to go over some of the issues with his followers, because they're basically cheerleading somebody having a mental health episode spiral, and that's kind of messed up. That'd be a red herring non sequitur fallacy, Tsutsaka. You doubled up on that fallacy. Obviously, you don't have to literally say everything is valid to say everything is a fallacy. But if everything was a fallacy, then everybody would have thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dings on the analysis. So, yeah, obviously you don't have to say it, but it's very clearly demonstrated that I don't think everything is a fallacy. I mean, he is here for comedy relief, and also to prove that's what's hilarious about Dunning-Kruger people, because they prove the points against themselves better than anybody else ever could. And of course, they don't have the awareness to realize that. You might be yawning at us, Tsutsaka, but we're having good laughs. So you're doing a good job. Like, these people don't realize they're like Dunning-Kruger marionettes. They're dancing for comedic relief while not realizing what they're doing. Because same thing with Craig. Like, either if he does have a fetish for humiliating himself, that he likes it, like some of these subs in S&M or whatever. If Tsutsaka and Craig and all his followers, whatever, if they're all into that, it kind of makes sense. But if they lack the awareness to realize they're humiliating themselves, then that might just be mental disability. Again, I don't claim anything is true or untrue. Yes, Dave Scott, they are Dunning-Kruger marionettes. It's weird. It's like they've never heard of the game of chess. Like, I set up the strings for them to pull on themselves, and they never fail to do it like Tsutsaka just did. And they continue to do it while not even realizing what they're doing. Or again, if they are realizing what they're doing, then maybe they just have this weird fetish or glutton for humiliation. I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of medical conditions out there. Again, I don't claim anything is true or untrue, just considering many different theories, many of which are mutually exclusive. All right, final questions, people. Let's get a really funny one in as the final question here. Anybody got a really funny question? And no, Tsutsaka is not going to get it. Last call for questions. I'm actually a pretty curious person. Most of the time I don't have a preference for talking about something. Unless it's like SRA or crimes against children, there's only a certain amount of time. Or even crimes against adults, like, there's only a certain amount of time I want to spend talking about that. I mean, obviously bringing awareness is important, justice for victims is important, but I can't go all day on those topics. How many holes does a straw have? Is that a serious question? We need a really bonkers question. Do you see yourself as being biased? Okay, that's a fair question. Will you ever admit you are biased? That's a begging the question logical fallacy with the presupposition. How can you admit something that's not true? See how your English is very deficient, Tsutsaka? You just admitted that you think logical fallacies are meaningless, so you'll never actually be able to learn anything or move forward. If I do not claim anything is true or untrue, can I be biased? I'll answer a question with a question, Tsutsaka. Let's see if there's any hope for Tsutsaka. Let's see if he's capable of learning something. Is Mr. Spock your father? Do you want that to be the final question? I think I said yesterday, I've actually never seen Star Trek. I've never seen any of the movies or the TV shows. Like, other than, on TV in the background when I wasn't paying attention. But no, I don't see as myself as being biased because I'm not into believing things. Either the evidence is substantial or not. If the evidence meets the burden of proof by objective metrics, then it has nothing to do with me. So it's not me being biased. It's either you're realizing a truth as a truth or you're not. That's not a bias. But yeah, I mean, everybody's biased in certain ways. But in terms of some of these topics we're discussing, I'm not biased. I'm sure I'm biased in other things. You might not even know you're biased, obviously. I wouldn't be immune to that, to unconscious biases. But any of the topics we're discussing, like, no, I don't think I'm biased. I mean, unless you want to say in true crime I'd be biased against criminals or corrupt scum exploiting others. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to take their side on anything. But in terms of examining whether something is true or not, no, I don't think I'm biased. So then make it. You think I'm extremely biased. An argument for that is extremely easy. Well, it's very easy to say an argument is easy, but notice how you haven't actually made one. Mr. One-to-One, don't know about Mr. Spock, though. I'm calling you the son of... Oh, Spock is Dave Scott's father. Tutsaka for a guest host. Oh, in time. So you're too scared. So it's that easy. It's so extremely to make an argument, extremely easy to make an argument that I'm extremely biased that you can't do it. It's just that easy. And you think I'm going to be worrying about it? Yeah, I'm going to be losing sleep about Tutsaka mounting some kind of hallucinatory argument. Ivan Mecton, have you ever considered becoming a vocal guy? No, I haven't actually. Maybe I should. What happens when you believe heliocentrism? That's the question we're going to go out with. I don't know. Is that a fair question? What happens when you believe anything instead of knowing? Yeah, I'm probably going to be doing a lot more of these. I might do them at different times of the day to kind of see. Because I think yesterday was around the same, maybe about 30 people. And most of them said, almost all of them said they did not get a notification for the live. Oh, yes, actually, that's a great question, Johnny Sizzlechest. That's a good one going out. That's actually next on my list is Matt Walsh's moon landing video. Matt Walsh is one of the trickiest people to logically analyze, just based on micro expressions. He is so tricky. I really don't know what to make of him. Because I'm not going to say he's the super genius, but on the other hand, he's really not dumb at all. And he's got a really good poker face, like one of the best I've ever seen. It is so hard to dissect his micro expressions. That's why I thought it'd be really fun to do that video. And I haven't actually listened. I'm going to do it blind because I think that'll be more fun. So I haven't actually reviewed it yet. I listened to just 3 seconds of it when someone posted it on Twitter, and I put it right on the list. So I will be doing that one pretty soon. So that'll be really fun. Yeah, Matt, I mean, he would make a great comedian because his stone-faced delivery on literally any subject is amazing. It's amazing. Is Tutsaka still psychologically projecting how he doesn't even know what a fact is? Can you provide a definition for the word fact? Okay, so that's it for now. Yeah, I will be doing the Matt Walsh one pretty soon. Man, I might even do that one tonight. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so yeah, it's been fun, guys. Hope everybody found this Q&A fun. And I'll be doing another one pretty soon, maybe later today or tomorrow. Maybe we'll make a daily one. And then we can maybe get more into some of the topics a little deeper. And based on what everybody likes with the format, usually when I do like a deep research podcast, I don't really want to interact with the chat because I'm busy with the presentation. But maybe I can play around with some kind of hybrid format where we can watch the clips, like maybe even for the Tom Cruise one, where I'll present and then I'll go to the chat and we could watch the clips and then discuss it and then go back and forth instead of just pure research presentation. Maybe we can have a discussion on that in the community tab to see kind of what people want more. Because some of these topics, like the presentation's several hours long, so if I'm constantly going to the chat, it would just be way too long of a stream. But all right, guys, catch you guys soon.